And welcome back to a new episode of the Women's Strength Society show. Today with 3 identity shifts to build an elite physique and health.
And this is something that you need, but that is not widely talked about. Most of the time, the whole discussion is about like the workouts, what exercise to do, training to failure, progressive overload, that kind of things. Or a lot of the discussion is centered about nutrition because so many women struggle with that topic or think that the nutrition is the meat and potatoes, no pun intended, of the body transformation. And they are important. You need to have like the tactical, the strategies, the systems, all of that. You need them, but you also need to have the right mindset in order to apply that consistently over time. And this combo is what's going to ultimately enable you to achieve the elite physique and health and combine the two.
100%. So when I'm thinking back about the beginning of my journey, I was constantly searching for the perfect diet, the right workout split. And as Yannick already said, of course, we need to have an individualized like training program that fits you, your goals, your body. And the same goes for your nutrition. So those two need to match and really work well together. And then you also need a long-term strategy. But if you don't have the identity of someone who is getting and staying in great shape, you will not be able to first get there and second, maintain it for the rest of your life.
And like this is a huge topic, right? We cannot possibly put everything into 30 minutes of the discussion, but we are going to share like the 3 most important maybe beliefs or like traits or attitudes or whatever you want to call it, so that it opens up the door for the whole transformation to then unfold. And so 2 are going to be like, one's going to be a bit training, the other one's going to be about nutrition. But the
Don't
first
spoil
one,
it.
But the first one, the first one we are going to talk about, I feel is the most important one, because without it, then it's going to be an uphill battle for everything that you are going to do. And this is also the thing that we see, like every single woman we work with who achieve a great transformation and who's able to not only achieve a great transformation, but then sustain that and then year on year improve upon that standard that she set for herself. That's the one trait that every single one woman has. I'm going to just say it, is to ditch the victim mindset and really take ownership over the transformation.
And I think this is something that has helped me tremendously achieve the physique and health and life that I dreamed of, right? For so many years, like in my 20s. There was that moment in like my mid-20s where I just felt like shit, health-wise, in my body, and I then flipped the script and I took ownership instead of just staying where I'm at, like just stuck in maybe complaining about the things that I don't like and that I hate and all those things. So I was really making a bold move and saying like, okay, this is it. I do want to change something. But then more importantly, on the way, there were still like almost 5 years where I was not getting the results that I was after. And I was constantly running into roadblocks, stuff that was not working. Like I remember when we put me on low carb, when I did keto, like I was just gaining weight. I became so fluffy and puffy and hit my highest weigh-in. And I was still not just sitting there and saying like, oh, nothing is working for me, I will just give up. But I was constantly constantly searching for a solution, because I also had that deep belief that there is a solution for me out there, and that I just hadn't had figured out what it is. But I was very, very convinced that there is a solution for me out there. And I see the same like eagerness to figure it out in the women that truly win working with us, is they have that conviction of, okay, let's go. And then also when stuff is not working out, being curious what we can change, what we can improve on, instead of just saying like, oh, I'm broken, I'm such a failure. And, this is a very passive way of doing things. It's just like you're sitting there, you're saying like, oh, everything is bad, my body is broken, and I can't figure it out, and nothing is working for me. I tried everything, all those things. It's a very passive way of like sitting back and being like a little bit like a child that is a little bit like grumpy and saying like, meh.
I would argue it's not even passive, it's actually working against your goals. And this is where some people might say like, I'm self-sabotaging. But what I find interesting is, in everything that you just shared, is the difference in wording that you use, when you talk about wanting to figure things out, having that deep belief that you are going to find solutions, having the let's go attitude. And it's something that really starts with the word that you use. And so I just want to give a few examples, because sometimes that kind of quote unquote victim mindset, victimhood mentality, is not something that's necessarily super obvious, and it can just show up in very little things, and small details, but they end up like holding you back, and especially it sums up. And so the alternative is there's always something that you can actually do. And so the small things that is more like, or I'm a victim of my circumstances, is in saying, but I don't like to eat broccoli, but I cannot eat savory food for my breakfast, but I cannot do this exercise because my shoulder XYZ. I cannot do that because my thighs are too long. I cannot do that because then I'm going to build too much muscle. I cannot do that. I can't. I shouldn't, blah, 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 blah. And those are small things, but they end up being hurdles on the way and really holding yourself back. Whereas if you focus on the things that you can actually do, and you're like, I'm going to take ownership, those are my goals, and it's my responsibility to find a path moving forward, and there will be a path moving forward, then it's going to open up your mind to finding those solutions, right? Because if you are just like using those words of the things that you cannot do, of finding the things that will not work and reasons why it will not work, then you shut off your mind to the things that can actually help you improve the situations. And to be absolutely transparent, in some situations there are absolutely like legitimately things that will hold you back, or that make the process and the progress more difficult than others to achieve. I was talking about that in the community to one lady who was like, hey, I want to be able to combine, like, I want to improve my cardio, I want to get stronger, but I also want to get leaner. And she's already fairly advanced. And what I was saying was like, hey, this is like a very ambitious goal. And do you have like some examples of people who have the physique and have the strength and have the cardio that you strive to achieve? And then the people she showed me were all people who were pro athletes and or fitness influencer, living in places where it's super sunny, and where their whole lifestyle is designed to enable the things that will lead to that kind of results. And it's not her situation, it's not her circumstance, and it's something that you have to keep in mind. Sometimes it is going to be a bit more difficult, and you do want to be realistic, but you also want to really like exhaust every possibilities that you have in your given circumstances.
I like what you said about being realistic, because I think part of taking ownership is also sitting down and really thinking about, is it really worth my time, my effort, my attention to pursue those goals? Because for some women, it just isn't.
Yeah.
And that's totally okay. That's totally fine, right? Be very honest with yourself of like, yeah, you're maybe talking that you want to achieve that dream physique, that lean, defined look, that you want to become badass strong. But it's not really inside of you that you are like, that you have that fire to go after those things, and also let go of other stuff that you are currently doing. Because identity shift, like transforming your physique, transforming your health, transforming your life, definitely takes from you that you become a different person, right? So of course you are you, but there is a different version of you. And so if you want to become a different version of yourself, you need to let go of the old version. And sometimes we are so clinging to that old version, because we are not aware that this transition, this shift needs to happen. And I had definitely in my own journey a couple of years where I was going through that kind of transition phase, where it was not clear to me, like, who am I? Like, am I now the fitness chick? Is this like truly like my identity? Because I still was like partying and doing all those smoking, drinking, all those things, and moving my body and prioritizing my health, my nutrition, all those things was definitely on the lower end of my priority list. But then I took some time to really flip that. And it's not happening from today to tomorrow. It does take a little bit of work to constantly commit to yourself, to those habits, to that identity, to the way you speak about yourself. But it adds up over time. So it's really compounding over time, that you are doing all those small things and they add up. And then you look back, right? If I'm looking back now and 10 years ago, where I was and where I am today, now living in my dream body, in my dream life with amazing health, is just very, very cool to see. And of course, it's a long time, right? 10 years is a very, very long time. But it also passed quite quickly.
And I remember someone saying in the last challenge, like, hey, time's going to pass by anyway, so I might as well use it to transform my body and myself. And I think what you just said is so important. It's really the key, is to find that fire. And this is something that you will feel and that you will notice when you do take ownership. It will be like the proof that you are taking ownership and that this identity shift is happening, is when you start to get fired up to do the things, to implement those changes, to do things differently than what you were doing before. And this is where your training and nutrition are going to start looking different, because you are fired up to make those changes. And so we are now going to go into the change that you want to have in terms of working out.
Mm-hmm.
And so the things that we preach, that we highly, 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 highly recommend, is to try to have an athlete mindset. And the reason for that is, if you look at your whole life from where you're now until the end of your life, then it's pretty much inevitable that your body is going to change and that you're going to age. And at some point, you're going to have wrinkles, you are going to lose some muscle, you are going to get slightly shorter, you are not going to have as much strength and as much muscle as right now. And so playing the physique game is great. There are so many like amazing lessons that you can get from that, so many wonderful experiences that you can get out of it, but it's bound to disappear. Whereas trying to improve your performance, like, yes, you are going to lose strength at some point, but you can always show up to the gym and put in your best effort and try to be the athlete and perform at your best. And this is something that is going to, you are going to be able to do regardless of your age, and it's always going to bring some positive not feedback, but like create a positive state in your body. Like the benefits that you get from working out, you get them at age 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90. I remember my grandmother when she was 89, and she had some physiotherapy sessions, and it was very, very simple. It was just about relearning how to sit down and sit up and do some very easy biking and that sort of things. She regained so much quality of life so quickly just because she was putting in the work. And I remember she was like, yeah, I was on the bike and I cycled 60 kilometers last week, and she was getting a bit of dementia, so it was obviously not 60 kilometers. I don't know how much it was, but she still got like a sense of pride and a lot of well-being coming out of those sessions, just because the benefits that you get out of it is going to happen regardless of where you are. And it's much easier to have that when you go into that as an athlete who wants to perform and to make the most out of the sessions.
100%. And I think, you know, I'm definitely training for my physique. I'm not only training to feel good and feel strong, but I definitely want to have and achieve a certain look. But what made the change for me to achieve the look was the way I was treating my body when training, right? It was not anymore about just, it needs to be very hard. I need to sweat a lot. Only then, and only by adding more and more sessions to the week, I kind of accomplished my goal and did what I need to do to chase a certain look. But it was when I stepped up my game when it came to my training, like the quality of my training and putting the work in, understanding what that even means. Because, you know, when I'm telling you, you need to improve the quality of your training, it's maybe a little bit like, yeah, but what does that really mean? And so there are different things that come to that. But the athlete mind is someone who is striving to become better. And if you want to become better at something, be it on the strength side or the cardio side, you need to also understand the process better of like what needs to happen to have certain adaptations from your training. You cannot just like put the effort in. Like the body doesn't care about your effort in the end.
And I think this encapsulates exactly what the athlete mindset is really like when you look at interviews of great athletes, they are always talking about, you know, they spit out some sentences that are sometimes a bit cringe. It's like, yeah, 110% effort, 1% better every time. You need to be obsessed and that sort of things. But it is absolutely true. It's really about like trying to understand the game better every time that you step into your workouts and like, what can I do better? And it's not always just about how can I lift more weight? How can I do more reps? But it's also about like, how can I understand that movement pattern better? Is my positioning really correct? Is that what's going to enable me to have the power output that I want? Or is it going to help me stay injury free? Because this is something that you want to have at the forefront of your mind. And so having that attitude of like, okay, I'm an athlete, then for me, it implies that you strive, like every time you go into your workout, you strive to understand the game a bit better and play it a bit better. And this is going to really help, you know, get the feeling at every session, like you go into your workouts and you get the feeling that you did something right, that you did something better, and it is going to make you feel good about yourself. And this is almost like a small investment in your confidence bank account. You know, feeling good about yourself, feeling powerful because you are able to improve your capacity, to improve the quality of your workouts. And so having that in mind as I think like the perfect representation of what it means to have that athlete mindset.
And one last thing about the athlete mindset. I think what also goes into that is playing the, like, having that long haul mentality. Because I mean, an athlete is preparing. They're preparing themselves for, I don't know, a year, 2 years, 4 years for a sports event to like perform. Like, they're training so hard for such a long time to then like have that one tiny moment where everything like clicks and falls into place so that they can like have a new personal best, personal record. And so playing that long-term game when you're going through your training journey is, I think, also something very important. You cannot just go always like full all in and destroy yourself in your training sessions. Like, there is a time for that. And I think learning, or what I see, the women who are becoming more advanced, they're not only becoming more advanced because they're moving better, but they're becoming also more advanced because they understand like the ebbs and flows of a training cycle, of a training block, understanding like, oh, now is the time to like pull a little bit back, now is the time to push a little bit more, be a little bit more aggressive, because it is part of the process. Like, we are not saying just chill out and have like an easy training every time. Of course, you will not have the adaptations that you're looking for. We do need hard training, and we need to have that like that fire that you need to bring to your training sessions to train hard. I just said it yesterday in my Instagram stories. I was about to do my lower body lifts, my lower body training session, and I was like, girls, you just need to train hard. Like, if you want to create shape in your lower body, you need to train really, really hard. It really takes some effort to build muscle mass in your lower body. And it will definitely not come from staying in your comfort zone all the time. And I think understanding your own body better and how, like, when is the right time to push and pull back is what will bring you to that next level in your training. And it's something that athletes definitely have, because they have off seasons, they're in season, right? Everything is periodized so that they can really perform their best.
100%. And this is something that spills over outside of the gym, outside of training. And you want to have that the same kind of mindset when you go into the recovery and the nutrition. And we are going to talk about that in a minute. But before we do, if until now you've already had like at least one aha moment and a small light bulb popping up over your head, then make sure to hit the subscribe button, to like this episode, and maybe to share it with someone that might enjoy it and benefit from it. So now back into what we were saying, the nutrition aspect of it is, if you bring that athlete mindset to the table and you want to understand everything better and how to perform your best, then your nutrition is definitely going to be part of that. And what it means, though, and what you have to realize, and what is sometimes difficult for people to understand, is that the nutrition of someone who fuels their bodies for optimal health, optimal performance, and improved body composition, which is obviously a huge part of the work that we do, that nutrition is going to look very different than the quote-unquote normal way of eating of people who do not do that, right? People who eat quote-unquote normally, they don't really care about the performance or about their look or about their health as much as you. And what it means is that they have much more room for error, so to speak. They can allow themselves to have like pizza every night, to have like cocktails on the weekend, to eat dessert after every meal, and then don't really care about the impact that it has on their look or on their health or on the performance. They might not be even aware that it's going to have an impact on even the way they think and the way they show up as a person and their mood and how they are regulated. And so the mindset shift that is important to have if you want to perform your best and look the part is that your nutrition is not going to be normal by today's standard. And this is something that's super important because, it is going to create some friction at some point. It is going to create some friction with people around you, with maybe colleagues or maybe even some family members. But it's also going to create like that feeling that you are doing things wrong or, maybe differently in a way that's not healthy or not good just because it's going to be different. And what we want to encourage you to do is this is something that you have to embrace.
I always like to say you need to be okay with going against the grain. Like you need to find some pride in doing that. It needs to be, or not pride, but you need to kind of enjoy it to do that instead of always trying to blend in when it comes to your nutrition and fit into the mold, fit into what other people are doing around you. You need to be okay. And I think, again, this is a process to get there. You will have a lot of situations. I had a lot of situations where I was not feeling confident in my decisions around other people when it came to food and making a decision for myself. And so I was constantly giving in. I was also constantly thinking about nutrition of food. What should I eat? What should I not eat? So it was a process to get to the point where I don't fucking care about what other people are doing around me, and I will choose whatever I want to have in that moment. I'm not saying that I will not have a pizza. Like we were having a pizza lunch with my family 2 days ago, and I will have that pizza and I will have that dessert. But those moments are very rare in comparison to who I was before, right? I would buy pizza like every 2 days because I was very, very lazy to cook. I hate cooking. I was living alone. And so I would always buy something that is already done. And so the next shop was a little pizza shop. And I would just like grab,
Maybe some pasta and pesto.
Like something that is easy to grab. Yeah, I definitely don't like cooking. I still don't like it, but I made nutrition still work for me. I'm making it basic and boring, and you're laughing.
Yeah, I'm laughing because like I'm also prepping the food like pretty often so that you don't have to do that.
Yeah, but we're also not doing that much meal prep.
No.
Prepping some proteins.
Yeah, because it became like so convenient that we don't have to do a lot of meal prepping.
But what happened in the early days was that people were like maybe commenting on stuff that I was eating or the way I was eating, the stuff that I was not eating, the stuff that I was eating.
And just to be fair, this is something that still happens to this day.
Like, oh yeah, 100%. Like this will never stop. Like people around you are probably not changing. Like you are changing. You're creating different habits and a different identity. Not everyone around you will change or understand or pick up on the same, like they will not go for the same goals that you're after. Sometimes it happens, but very rarely. So those comments will still happen, but the way you act and respond to that will be very different if you have had that identity shift when it comes to your nutrition, when you're okay making decisions for yourself in that moment that feel right to you instead of like giving in, and being okay with going against the grain, going against what society says is normal. And I just had like a one-on-one client. I told her to stick to her food choices to make fat loss. Yeah, to make fat loss easier. She's on pretty low calories. She is not very tall. She doesn't have a like high output, like high maintenance calories, and so it really sucks for her being in a fat loss phase. when you have very low calories in a fat loss phase, you definitely, and that's a topic for another day, but pay attention to your food choices. Like, you don't have a lot of room for processed foods. You need to make sure that the majority, and when I say majority, I really mean like 98% of the food that you're eating, the calories that you're consuming on a daily basis, comes from unprocessed whole foods. And she was still eating stuff like bread, for example, that had a lot of like calories for little, like low volume, stuff like that. That was not very supporting her goals. And so I had to be very, very honest. And that's my job as a coach, to be very honest and be like, hey, suck it up, buttercup. You need to switch your food choices. And she's also eating out every weekend with her family. And so she finally had a weight drop this week after the weekend because she brought her potatoes and her meat to the place where she was eating. And it might be uncomfortable, but it definitely helped her to move one step further in her journey and get to where she wants to be. Because at the same time, she's talking about that she has those big goals, she wants to achieve them. And then I'm like, yes, then you need to suck it up, buttercup, and do what's required.
Yeah, this is exactly what we were saying at the beginning. This is where you have to take ownership and be willing. Like, if those goals matters to you and you are really serious about achieving them, not because someone else tells you to do that, but because this is really truly what you want for yourself, sometimes then you have to go through uncomfortable moments, uncomfortable situations. They get better over time, but sometimes what is required is going to be just like not super enjoyable or not like super easy, because you are challenging your limits, you are challenging your comfort zone, you are challenging your situations. And this is where growth is going to happen, where the change is actually taking place, because you are doing things different than what you've done in the past. And this is where, taking ownership is going to be so incredibly helpful, because otherwise you just revert back to the default of what you've been doing in the past.
I think I have a last and fourth
okay, let's hear it.
shift. It's very small, but because you're saying like, hey, it's going to be a challenge, you need to become someone who enjoys that, right? So you need to become someone who enjoys the challenge, who is like, let's fucking go, let's try this. I've never done it before. Couple of examples from my own journey. Definitely all my photo shoot preps. Like, I think when I'm telling a client like, hey, I think it would be great for you to do a photo shoot, it's for me like, I'm not saying that because of the photo shoot itself. It's not so much about like, yeah, I want you to be in a bikini shredded in front of the camera. Like, I don't care. You can also do something else. But I know for so many women who do want to transform their bodies that there is a big hurdle of being in tune with their bodies, like in the process. Like, we can do training and nutrition, and those things are like fairly easy, but standing there and being confident in your own skin, in your own body, and trying to bring the best out in you, of you, in front of the camera, that truly connects you even more so to your goal of building your dream body, if that makes sense. And so for me, doing that and being willing to do something I had no clue of. Like, when I'm looking back, my posing pictures, like at the very beginning, and I was doing everything on my own. I had like, I think 2 posing sessions in my whole life, online with the posing coach, maybe even just 1. Everything else is like self-taught. I'm not a bodybuilder. I never took any other like classes. It just came from me practicing it in front of the mirror. And it came because I understood that it is part of my identity. Like, how can I be someone who is saying I want to become a woman that is like in great shape and have that physique and that body, and not standing there being proud and like flexing. It doesn't make sense. Yeah, it doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
And I have so many women where I'm thinking, yeah, it's cool that you're like on your way to create that look and that physique, but what are you doing with it? Like nothing. You're in the end, like maybe you're having like one vacation a year where you're wearing the bikini. Okay, great. Maybe you have like 2-3 occasions where you're wearing a tight dress and you're feeling good in your body. But it is also in those everyday moments in your life, like standing in front of the mirror, flexing a little bit, standing in front of the mirror in the gym, trying to pose a little bit, taking selfies, taking pictures of yourself in like different poses, and trying things out, even though it feels very awkward to do it, definitely helps you to connect differently to the physique that you're after. And so when we're talking about the identity shift, to build an elite physique, I think this fourth and last part of like doing stuff that is uncomfortable, that is challenging, that feels strange, is super important to lean into that and to go after it, even though you have the feeling like, I don't have a clue how to do that. It feels strange, but okay, let's fucking go.
I think it's a worthy experience. Like life is long enough and has enough to give to, to go into that and be like, okay, I'm going to try that out because it's safe. I can always go back to what I was doing before and be comfortable if I don't like it. But there's something to be said about really, as you said, leaning into the uncomfortable and challenging yourself with stuff you've never done before.
Yeah, and it doesn't have to be a photo shoot, right? It can be a sports event or stuff that is just like,
100%.
Oh my gosh, I don't know how to do that.
100%.
It gives you a little bit of anxiety of like, who am I to do this?
Yeah, we were talking about that recently because I have like some goals for a half marathon in 18 months from now. And I was like, I'm not even sure why I'm doing this. I came back from one of the session and I was like, yeah, my calves are hurting and I'm just like tired and my legs are heavy. And why do I need to do that? Why? And the answer is just like, hey, I want to see what life's like when I try to do it, when I give my best shot at achieving that goal. And not just like the process of getting there, but also the changes that happens when you get there. And so what you're talking about with the photo shoot is going to be the same. Like, what are the changes that are going to happen on the way there and on that day when you go full scope, with hair and makeup and outfits and the posing and the right angle of the camera and the lighting and that sort of things. Like, how are you going to feel there? What's going to be life like when you are in that situation, and what kind of impact it's going to have long term? Because I really think that it's going to also change the way you see yourself, and that can be true both for a photo shoot but also for a sport event, be it like a run event or even like powerlifting meet or some strength competition that you are going to try out and do. And so yeah, that was everything that I had to say.
That's it for today. We are very curious if there was something that really sparked your ear and that was like, oh, maybe I should go for that competition. Maybe I should do a photo shoot. Like, leave us a comment
We want to know
below. We definitely want to know. Until next time, bye-bye.